Say what's good, Cowboys Nation. All right, guys, let's huddle up real quick. All right, so as the Dallas Cowboys and the rest of the NFL start to about to get ready to approach the trade deadline um in November, man, let's talk about some of the possibilities of the Dallas Cowboys trading, acquiring new talent, and also some of the trade bait that they're utilizing to willing to ship out, right? Some of the players that they're willing to move on from, right? And so some of the key significant names that they were willing to move on was guys like a Jalen Tolbert, who was on an expiring contract, and obviously considering that the Dallas Cowboys still have a Jonathan Mingo, who they acquired last year through trade for one more year after this, after he comes off IR, and also a Ryan Flanoy, who's kind of looked like he's more so kind of taking Jalen Tolbert's place as the number 3 wide receiver on this team. And also, former first round draft pick in 2023, Mozzie Smith, defensive tackle out of Michigan. All right. I wanted to put a little bit more focal point on a Mozzie Smith. All right. So when Cowboys fans think of players like a Mozzie Smith, they think of players as somebody that's a bust, right? They think of somebody that hasn't necessarily really developed or become the player that they thought that he would be. Okay. And one thing we have to take in consideration is that Mike Smith, he might not be the player that we thought he was going to be. He may not be this flashy player and things like that. He might not even be worth spending or selecting him at the first round, which where we got him at, right? But one thing we have to consider is that Mozzie Smith plays defensive tackle, and he's a one-take defensive tackle. Okay, and instead of saying, okay, although Mozzie Smith played a full season as a starter last year, and he didn't really show too much progression, he showed some progression in some instances. I think he played better than his first year as a rookie, but in the fans' eyes, not so much. What we have to consider is that have the Dallas Cowboys done a proper job of drafting and developing and properly vetting talent at defensive tackle in Pacific? Right? Really think about that. When's the last time the Dallas Cowboys were able to draft and develop a dominant defensive tackle or somebody who was a run stopper? Right? Think about that. Right? You really got to go all the way back before now. Um, Jay Ratliff, right? And before Jay Ratliff, we had who? Leon Lett, right? So you got to go all the way back to the 90s, the 2000s, underneath guys like Jimmy Johnson and Coach Bill Parcells. So, like, yeah, Osa Odigizua has earned the second contract with us, but how good has he played this season? You know what I mean? And also, is Osa Odigizua a run stopper? No, he's not. You know what I'm saying? That's not his game, right? And that's not his the position he plays at defensive tackle. That's not necessarily so more so of his assignment, right? He's a three tech, right? So his job is kind of pretty much turn up and get it in the backfield and turn up and get upfield, right? Generate pressure. Okay, but once we look at our NFC East counterparts and our NFC East rivals, think about this, man. Like a lot of our NFC East rivals have been able to consistently draft and develop and consistently have a good chain of defensive tackles rotating. Okay, right. So although we traded Micah Parsons for defensive tackle Kenny Clark, it's like, okay, he's kind of pretty much somebody who's good. He's a veteran and things like that. He's gonna bring some value to the room. But here's what you have to consider: do the Dallas Cowboys not only value the development of somebody like a Mozzie, but do they even value the position as a whole? Right? And based on the last couple of years, based on our lack of ability to stop the run, and based on our lack of ability to kind of consistently have a good run stopping defensive tackle in house, we don't necessarily value the position, right? We don't necessarily value the trenches on the defensive side of the football, right? You look at the New York Football Giants, right? You look how they had a Justin Tuck, and they went from a Justin Tuck to a Snack Harrison to a Jonathan Hankins, who we once had. and now to a Dexter Lawrence and also a Tomlinson. Right, the New York Football Giants have shown to consistently, properly draft and develop and vet these defensive tackles the right way. Okay, right. You also look at a Philadelphia Eagles, right? You look how they went from a Fletcher Cox to a Jordan Davis, and when they drafted Jordan Davis, remember he didn't really get out to a fast start, right? Similar to Miles Smith, he got out to a very slow start. A lot of the things that Dallas Cowboys fans were saying about Miles Smith, oh, he's a bust, oh, he's this, he's that, he's not good, he's trash, he sucks. Philly fans were saying that at the beginning of year three with Jordan Davis. So you know what the Philadelphia Eagles did when they first drafted Jordan Davis? They went out and they acquired Udonijin Sue. They had Javon Hargrave on the roster to go along with Fletcher Cox. They also went out and got a Linval Joseph, who also once played for us, right? And the Dallas Cowboys have also had their fair chance at having the pool the market to acquire these veteran defensive tackles, right? We just don't take advantage of the opportunity all the time, right? We got Jonathan Hankins out of frustration. We didn't get Jonathan Hankins because we wanted Jonathan Hankins and we value Jonathan Hankins. No, we got Jonathan Hankins out of frustration because we wanted to get rid of Michael Parsons. Okay, so in other words, like I said, do we value the position and do we value the development of the players that we have that we drafted at the position? Right? Okay, so you see how the Philadelphia Eagles went from Fletcher Cox to Jordan Davis and to also Jalen Carter, right? How they consistently had have they consistently been good in the interior of the trenches on the defensive side of football, right? The Washington Redskins, having guys like a Jonathan Allen, a Deron Payne, you know what I mean, and them always valuing that side of the football, right? So we look at our NFC East counterparts, and I could go on for days about other teams that have pretty much practiced the same philosophy that the Cowboys just do not, right? And even if we talk about a Jay Ratliff, right? Jay Ratliff has even came out and said that, hey man, if Bill Parcells was not my coach, I would have not become the player that I became, right? And the reason that I bring this up, man, it's like, how can you expect Mozzie Smith to become this nasty dog defensive tackle if he's gone through three different coaching regimes and each and every coaching regime has told him to do something different, right? First coaching regime, right, underneath Dan Quinn and Anthony Durde, who's the defensive coordinator in Seattle. You need to lose weight and you need to practice learning how to kind of pretty much get upfield, right? So something completely he was different in doing at Michigan, having to go and come in, lose 30 to 40 pounds your rookie season is a lot of pressure, right? I think Miles Smith even talked about, what I'm saying, his mental health his first season. And a lot of different interviews and a lot of different times I saw Miles Smith kind of just looking not so confident in himself, right? Second year underneath Mike Zimmer, and I think the defensive lineman coach at the time was Coach Zuniga. He's a former NFL player, right? Former defensive tackle, right? Played for a long time and was pretty solid, right? I thought this probably might have been the best marriage for him, for his development's sake, right? Um, they told him to put back on more weight, and you're gonna be somebody who's gonna pretty much be more of an anchor in the defensive line and hold blocks, right? And he actually started to play a little bit better under Mike Zimmer and Coach Zuniga. And now you have a Coach Eberflus and a Coach White Cotton. Once again, he's kind of somewhat told to bring his weight down just a little bit and be more of a defensive tackle that's going to be able to turn up field and things like that. So it's like, if I'm Mozzie Smith, I'm not, there's no consistency as to what I'm being taught or what I'm being asked to do. And you can't judge a defensive tackle based on how many tackles that they have, based on how many tackles for losses that they have all the time, and also how many sacks that they have, right? They're a defensive tackle, right? So, um, what I'm saying is like, did the Dallas Cowboys do right by Mozzie Smith? And I commented on a post earlier that Law Nation post clarifying that Mozzie Smith is kind of being out there on the trade market for the Dallas Cowboys. Um, which is okay. I'm open to it because I mean at this point the coach staff doesn't even like Mike Smith. You have certain coaches that look at certain players like, oh, I didn't draft him. He's not my prodigy. He's not my player that I'm responsible for developing. Either he's gonna come in here and work hard every day, or I'm just gonna neglect him. You know what I mean? And that's the impression that I get from this coach staff as it pertains to Mozzie. Right? Mozzie didn't suit up for the first 2 to 3 games of the season. For what reason? He was healthy. He was a healthy scratch the first 2 to 3 games of the season. So it's like, it's just a real ugly marriage between Miles Smith and the coaching staff for no reason whatsoever. Um, I don't think Thomas is that great to where you can't play him. You know what I mean? It's not like our defense. It's not like our defensive line as a whole is just playing so great, or to where the competition is so where it's like Miles just can't get no playing time. They gave Jay Toya the nod before they gave Mozzie. But Mozzie's more athletic than Jay Toya. Um, what I mean? He shares blocks a little bit better and things of that nature. So it's just really interesting how they're gonna utilize Mozzie. Are they gonna trade him? What will his future look like after this season? With the team. And yeah, that's just my thing on it, guys. Like the Dallas Cowboys haven't proven to draft and develop the defensive tackle position. So whenever you talk about Mozzie saying he's a bust, thinking he's this, he's that, he's not this, always trace back to did the Dallas Cowboys do right by drafting and vetting him properly? They just haven't. You know what I mean? And it's a consistent chain with other teams like the Giants, a consistent chain with other teams like the Eagles, a consistent chain with other teams like the Redskins, now Commanders. So it's like at some point, as a fan base, we have to acknowledge that and stop always pointing the finger at you suck, you suck, you suck. Like some players do. You know what I'm saying? Some players just aren't it. But that's not the case with Mozzie. That's not the case with Mozzie. But let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Let me know what your thoughts is. Man, follow me on every social media platform at Jabari Showtime. All right. Peace. Appreciate it.